Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, persons of all ages, welcome to the most exclusive group in the wrestling community. And now, your hosts, first, from Guadalajara, Puerto Rico, Macho Rodriguez, and his tag team partner from New Brunswick, Canada, Macho Tyler.
¿Cómo estamos, mi gente? Welcome to another edition of Must Love Wrestling. And holy shit, has it been a while, Tyler? What do you think?
Yeah, it's been a few weeks. Lots happened.
Yeah, a lot's happened. We've had Wrestlemania. We've had footage gate, if we're stealing the New England Patriots and NFL's lingo. We have had some pretty big debuts in professional wrestling. We've had some retired wrestlers make some headlines with some current influencers / wrestlers. But before we jump into that, why don't we give our audience our WrestleMania reaction? So, Tyler, why don't you tell me your thoughts, your likes, your dislikes, your favorite matches, your least favorite matches from WrestleMania?
Yeah, I thought it was probably one of the better Manias since we've gone to the whole huge stadium format.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the crowd was good. I thought, I think there were like 12 matches on 2 nights, and I thought 10 of them were really good.
Yeah.
I'll get it right out of the way to start. I didn't like the Usos one-on-one match.
Yeah.
And I didn't like the street fight from night 2, and I really thought I would, but it just, to me, it was kind of boring.
Interesting. Okay. I agree with you. Big stadium feel. I was lucky enough to be there for night 1. Wish I was there for night 2, clearly, but was lucky enough to be there for night 1 and take my son and get for him to see The Rock and for him to see Seth freaking Rollins and Roman Reigns. And hold on, we got to run in. Roman is here. Just want to let people know Roman is in attendance. Anyway,
That's where he's been.
Yeah, that's where he's been. He's just been hanging out with with this guy. And we got to see Cody Rhodes. And I think it was a great night. I have to be honest with you, my least favorite match was the Usos match. I know our friend of the show, Patty Rican, said that he felt that the match was as good as it could possibly be with the story given. I disagree. I don't disagree with Patty a lot. I wanted what the Usos sold me, which was in an interview about 2 years ago. They were asked what their dream match was, and they said one-on-one at WrestleMania because it's like fighting in the living room. I expected Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty in the middle of the Royal Rumble. I expected Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I expected brother versus brother just going at it, just physical. I expected to see 2 versions of Stone Cold Steve Austin just going out there and just beating the piss out of each other. And unfortunately, they tried to give us a really good match, and it just wasn't great.
It just didn't click. Especially the video package right before, I was hype. I was like, this is gonna be great.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
Nope. I completely agree with you. As for favorite match, I honestly believe that this is a WrestleMania that I may not have a absolute favorite match. Now, favorite moment clearly is Damian Priest cashing in. If you can't tell by the flag behind me, if you can't tell by the t-shirt, if you can't tell by one of the flags in our logo, obviously this means a lot to me as a human being. It means a lot to our culture. I love that he says at the top of the ramp after he cashed in, that was, I mean, I love that. And I got to be honest, I'm one of those people that with new information, my thinking evolves. And after finding out what Becky Lynch just stated yesterday, my favorite match of WrestleMania weekend is Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. That is my favorite
What did
match.
she say? I missed it.
Seth Rollins has been performing with a torn MCL, and yesterday he just had surgery and will be out for the next 6 to 9 months.
Oh,
So that man was not faking that limp.
I knew he was hurting. Yeah.
That was not faking that limp. That means that man was legit injured, and we still got a good match with him and Drew. Now, I honestly was like, well, it's just these two, and I thought they were trying to replicate the Brock Lesnar-Drew McIntyre match, just kind of give Drew that big moment, because they did finisher for finisher in that match as well. But the booking itself, I loved it, plus the story of Damian. The only matches that come close are the 2 women's world title matches. I love both of them, but nothing
They're
else
both really good.
Yeah. Nothing else really sticks out to me.
I like the night 1 main event. I thought it was
Yeah.
one of the most fun matches I've seen in a long, long time.
Agreed. The MVP of that match was clearly The Rock. He did a lot of work. But I do have to say, knowing what Seth Rollins was going through, it makes me wonder, did Rocky need to step up to save Roman and Cody for the next night? And if he did, and this is the best version we got, I got to tell you that after that match and Rocky's performance, I can see why he feels like he can go on a feud with Cody. Why him and Cody could feud for the title. Because it's like, okay, I could put Cody over. Because right now the story has him beating Cody 1-0. So clearly Cody's got to get that win back. They're not going to put the title on Rocky. I just don't expect that. I don't care what the internet tells me. He's not beating Cody for the title. Cody's going to be champion. Like, he's gonna at least he's gonna break CM Punk's record. I don't think Cody's dropping this championship for at least a year and a half. That's my honest opinion.
Right. Yeah, I see him probably maybe like SummerSlam next year kind of thing.
Yeah, he's definitely going to defend at Mania next year. He's going to continue to do so. I mean, it's a really good thing.
Because there's for one thing, there's no one built up to beat him really at this point.
Agreed.
Drew maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Here's the thing. So we watched Io versus Bailey, right? And we both came out thinking that match was phenomenal. Well, a lot of people went into that match rooting for Bailey, but what Io's performance swayed them. So I can see AJ Styles performing at such a high level that fans are like, ooh, let's do this. Because we've seen this happen before. For about 3 years, Seth Rollins lost pay-per-view after pay-per-view after pay-per-view. He wins the World Heavyweight Championship, and as soon as he wins the championship, everybody wants him to drop the strap to Finn, then Nakamura, then Sami Zayn. And that's what could potentially happen to AJ Styles, where AJ is just so good. And his match with LA Knight, I mean, those two have such great chemistry. That match last night, we'll get into that in a little bit. But I was like, holy hell. I don't even know if they're just going out there working TNA style, but I love those two. I want a long-term feud with those guys. Like, I really want like one of them to win the United States Championship and give me that feud. Because that's exciting to me. But yeah, we can't talk about WrestleMania without talking about Mommy. It's official.
Yeah.
Rhea Ripley, she has a torn AC joint, and she will miss at least the next 3 to 4 months. And she can't compete. And I have some thoughts on this. But before I give my thoughts, I wanted to hear your opinion on the loss and what this could potentially do for someone else, because I have a theory and I can't wait to hear your reaction to my theory.
Okay. I mean, obviously it sucks that she got hurt. She's a huge part of the show. Mm-hmm. One of the more entertaining characters that they have out there. Mm-hmm. So that obviously sucks. It's definitely going to provide an opportunity for somebody else. Mm-hmm. If it were me, I would have waited until after the draft to determine the new champion, because then maybe you have a little different landscape. But that's not what they're gonna do. So, do we have is there a match announced for Monday of who it is, or do they
Yes.
just say they're gonna
Yes.
determine a new champion?
While you're saying that, I will tell you the match right now. So the match right now, it is a battle royal for the
Oh my!
for the women's championship, and here are the names: Ivy Nile, Piper Nevin, Tegan Knox. Xia Li was initially announced, but she was released last night. Shayna Baszler, Candice LeRae, Kaden Carter, Zoe Stark, Indy Hartwell, Katana Chance, Natty, Chelsea Green, Maxine Dupree, Nia Jax, Liv Morgan, and Becky Lynch. So those are the names announced for the Battle Royal. If there's any way they can go here, they could make a brand new star like they did Kevin Owens and have somebody like Chelsea win, which I think would just be amazing.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, they could ride the hot hand and do what the internet has suggested with the Photoshop and have Liv be the new mommy. She took out Rhea and now she's taking over the Judgment Day. I think the amount of heat that would garner would be phenomenal. The Photoshops have been so good about this.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. They could go Nia because she has Dominic Mysterio heat. And or if Triple H doesn't believe anybody's ready, then as I stated on TikTok the other day, they can just put the title on Becky. But I don't think they do that. I actually like that one the best because I feel like that's the best way to get the title on Liv. Because Becky putting over Liv would be like huge for her.
And we know they have fantastic chemistry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So besides us talking about that, I wanted to run my theory by you. We know that Seth Rollins was dealing with an MCL injury. Now we know that because his wife confirmed it. She was on a television talk show in the morning yesterday, and she confirmed that this is what he dealt with. So now that we know that that's a thing, it kind of annoys me that Rhea Ripley's not given the same opportunity to just be champ. She barely defended the championship last year, and now all of a sudden it's like, just drop the championship, go home and get better, instead of just doing this. Especially since she's been so vocal about someone else joining the Judgment Day, like a Candice LeRae, like a Roxanne Perez, or a Liv Morgan, although obviously they're feuding now. So my theory is that Triple H has a plan and he knows that he's about to make a star in the women's division, and that's why he thinks that it's okay for her to drop the championship.
Yeah. So I think that could be the case, and also I think in the case of Seth, there were already plans in place.
Mm-hmm.
So it was you can just get through this.
Mm-hmm.
Because once they committed to that, I guess maybe they just stayed with it. Because obviously they committed before Punk's injury.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe they just rode with it.
Yeah.
And maybe no, because they already had the plan for. Because we've heard that they already had the plan for Damian, so.
Yeah, we did.
That's interesting. So was he that he was going to cash in on, if Punk hadn't gotten hurt, he was going to cash in on Punk?
That's what it sounds like.
Oh man, I wish that would be. That's how you make a star.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But they tried that with Alberto Del Rio, and although Damian is being positioned like what they've been looking for years, this man is out there. I have not seen this in a very long time. This reminds me a lot of when Jinder Mahal was champ, and they were like appearance after appearance after appearance. Like Damian is doing everything. Like they are definitely. We know they're going to Puerto Rico soon.
Really?
Yes, they're going back there this year, but I think it's just for a SmackDown. I don't think it's for a pay-per-view.
Oh, that's for TV though.
Yes. So I could see Judgment Day drafted to SmackDown and Cody drafted to Raw. I could see that happening, especially since Raw is going to get Netflix. Like they're going to Netflix, so obviously having Cody to Raw makes sense. But
yeah, keep the biggest star. Yeah.
That
makes sense.
I got to be honest with you. I think this has potential to build a massive star. You can build someone if you do this correctly. Years ago, and I just read it in Becky Lynch's book. Becky and Charlotte both knew. They both knew that Becky's heel turn wasn't going to work at SummerSlam. Charlotte said she was being booked. Like Becky talks about it extensively. Charlotte knew this was going to hurt her. She knew what was going to happen. And it's so strange to hear these women call it, because when you and I were going through it, when all the fans were going through it, we all assumed that, well, they just want the title on Charlotte because it's Charlotte. And Charlotte was like, this is actually going to hurt me. And it did. People wound up hating her and stuff. But Liv, she's not Becky Lynch. She's not having the backing from the fans that Becky had when she turned into the man. Liv got booed out of the building in Montreal. Like those Canadian fans were angry.
But and let's be clear, Canada is a different place. They don't necessarily react the way most crowds do.
No, they don't.
They've always called it Bizarro Land, right?
Yes. But if we use that and we push towards her being a heel, then I think this has potential to be star making. This has potential to put her in there. Now, there is one more before we move on. There is one more person that is not mentioned, but this Monday apparently is in her hometown, which is Alexa Bliss. And
yeah,
the thing about Alexa Bliss is there has been a report by Mr. Billy Body, I believe, if I remember correctly. Maybe it might not be Billy, so don't quote me on that. But it is a report that we are moving towards a new Wyatt family with Taylor Rotunda, Braun Strowman, the Redbeard, and Alexa Bliss. That 4-person group is supposed to be a continuation of what Bray had in store, with Taylor, Bo Dallas being the figurehead. And now, before I let you go, Tyler, because I know you have opinions on this, because I know you're a big Bray Wyatt fan. Recently, Sami Zayn was asked, and it is a question that a lot of podcasters have been asking wrestlers. Who is the most underrated wrestler in all of WWE, in your opinion? And everyone, Damian Priest said it was Dom. You know, a lot of people said it was Sami. Do you know who Sami Zayn's pick was? Bo Dallas.
It was yeah.
He said he worked with him extensively in NXT, and he said he's never even been able to scratch the surface of what he could become, and he knows he can be a huge star in professional wrestling. So knowing that, knowing the plan, I think having Alexa Bliss win the championship in kind of a Wyatt family style fashion, almost like The Fiend, like have the lights go out, right? There's one person, and then just have her eliminate somebody, and then have the Wyatt family surround the ring. I mean, what do you think?
That would be pretty dope. That'd be pretty dope, honestly. Yeah, I mean, it's obvious that Taylor has the charisma, like that Bo Leave gimmick was. I mean, he got that over.
Yes,
he's one of those guys that I'll put him in the same category as far as getting everything out of what they've been given to do as like R-Truth with his comedy gimmicks, Elias with the guitar gimmick, him and Curtis Axel with the B Team. Those are all guys that like they've been given things that theoretically are kind of dumb and shouldn't work, and they've been able to make them get the most out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
he maximizes his minutes, so give him a chance at something bigger.
yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I'm a fan of his. I think he's pretty talented. I think there's a reason they put the NXT Championship on him. I also like the background of him kind of having a story with the New Day. I feel like this could really work for both teams because he's the guy who beat Big E for the championship, the NXT championship. So I kind of like that as well. Yeah, I'm going into this with a complete open mind because the one thing that I know from Bo or from Taylor is that he checks off that one box that myself that I needed, which is he's so talented in the ring.
Right.
So like that's something where I'm not going to be like super worried, but I must say after watching the Bray Wyatt special, I realized through that special and through Becky Lynch's most recent one of her recent book tour, she said, and I quote, "What you can do in the ring should come second to character and story." And it just made me think that I've been looking at wrestling all wrong for a very, very long time. Being someone that I grew up watching Malenko and Regal, Benoit, Eddie, Dynamite, Brett, Shawn, Brian. These are guys that are technical wizards, and that's what I fell in love with. And I should have been looking at guys more so like Taker. And even though Sting was my guy, he was my guy for a completely different reason. But yeah, I think I would have appreciated Bray a lot more had I looked at it as more of a story that he was trying to give us instead of, why can't this guy have a good match? Like that should not have been in the front of my mind.
Well, I've already said before that I feel like he should not have wrestled nearly as much as he did, because that's a character that if he's gonna be a heel, he can't just beat all the baby faces and make them look bad. And for a character like that, he also can't really afford to take the losses that he did. So if he had been a leader of a group, a mouthpiece who wrestles on special occasions, it would have been better.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's a wrong way to look at it. I think as far as the way the company is going to, push people and present them, that obviously character and personality, obviously the WWE matters more than what you can do.
Yeah.
Between the ropes. That being said, most of the people that are in top spots can go. And if you just want wrestling, there's places to get that too. So
agree. So since we're on the topic,
I watched both. So
yeah, since we're on the topic of stories, why don't we talk about the Bloodline? Because right now, the Bloodline is the most compelling thing coming out of WrestleMania. Solo, who is a guy who is essentially proving that wins and losses going into a story do not matter. Because this man was 0-34 since he has wrestled and beaten John Cena. And now he is one of the most ruthless big bosses in all of professional wrestling. We are absolutely watching the next big heel. What do you think about the way he's been presented so far and with the introduction of Tama Tonga?
It's spectacular. They need to continue to build on that. I don't know what Tonga Loa's contract situation is, but probably need to bring him in. Keep them together, kind of thing. Good. Like obviously they're building a new bloodline, and then when Roman comes back, he can be a babyface against this
Which
ruthless faction. Maybe he's with the Usos, maybe he isn't.
there was a brilliant moment during Paul Heyman's promo right before Solo rips the mic out of his hand, where he is about to call Solo the new tribal chief. And you can hear him trying to, that's why Solo rips the mic out of his hand. And before he does that, the crowd starts chanting, "We want Roman." And they zoom in on Solo and he mouths, "Oh, now you do? Now you want him?" And that's how you listen, Triple H told us this next story for Roman is gonna rock us. This is gonna be something we didn't expect. So already in 2 weeks, fans are missing Roman Reigns. For a guy who was barely on TV, it looks like fans are really missing him. And it's a pretty big deal.
Right. Yeah, I think it just it needed some freshening, and that's what we're getting. And so yeah. For now, they want him to come back.
Yeah. I like it. I mean, I hopefully they don't pull a Nexus. I think Roman needs to put Solo over at least one time. He needs to.
Exactly.
So that's the way to keep the fans to root for him.
For me with the Bloodline, and I've said it a lot, I think it's one of the greatest stories they've ever told. I just thought it got really stale towards the end. And then they injected a little life into it with the last couple of months and did some really good work. Yeah, I see you.
Acknowledge me.
I got the one up. Oh, you can't see it.
There you go. All right. Okay. Good.
And then, like I said, they threw some life into it and did some really good work the last few months. And yeah, I think it was time for a little bit of a change to freshen it up, and that's where we are. And hopefully, we can continue to tell a great story.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm excited about it. Before we move on to AEW, because there's a lot of news coming out of AEW, a lot of things we'll have to discuss here. Ronda Rousey's making some headlines, isn't she?
Yeah.
So here's some things Ronda Rousey stated over the past couple of weeks leading up to her book release. One of the most ludicrous things I've heard was that Sami Zayn stole her spot in the Bloodline. That was supposed to be her spot.
Did she say that?
Yes. Don't know if that was true, but I'm sorry. That made Sami Zayn. Right. Sami was already perfect. A guy, but that made that I just don't think that would have worked, Ronda.
It was perfect.
Yeah. Another thing she stated was obviously she pointed out that she was assaulted or had an essay by an employee. We won't mention the employee's name until we know more information, but there's an issue there. The person has been taken off TV and they have been designated to not even talk about him or mention him on television. They didn't anyway, so I don't know why that's something that needs to be designated. But
they murdered him, didn't they?
Maybe. I don't know.
That's kind of the illusion that they made.
Yeah, I suppose. But the most compelling or polarizing thing she said, I agreed with initially, but then I have changed my stance based on information I read from Becky's book. And one of the things was that Logan Paul is being set up for success and that he has the opportunity to train and to practice his match over and over and over before going out there. And she wasn't given that, and women aren't given that time. Now, initially, I really agreed with this. I was like, yes, this was something that was said. Becky talked about it in her Helwani interview. Like, Ronda was not set up for success. But Becky also said that for the WrestleMania 35 match, Ronda showed up an hour late for practice. She blamed it on the Uber driver. But she showed up, and then when TJ tells her she's tapping out in the middle of the ring, or she's going to almost tap out, she pulled that big time card out and said, I can't do that. I can't even almost tap out. My mother will never talk to me again. Now, Becky was very cool about it. And she was like, I don't care. I'm going over anyway. I don't care if I got to pin you or tap you. Whatever happens, I'm cool with. So Becky took it like a pro. She didn't give a shit. But it seems like maybe Ronda was a little bit difficult to work with for someone who wasn't in the business for a very long time. And it seems like Logan does whatever he's told.
It does seem exactly like that to me. Anytime I've heard him and like in interviews with Triple H,
Yeah.
like because he's had Triple H on the show a couple of times, and Hunter's just like, yeah, like you're willing to put in the work, and you're willing to, like, you're a great athlete, but you're also willing to put in the work and do what needs to be done to make sure that this is successful. And I, like, she says she wasn't given the opportunity to do what he's, but is it that she wasn't given the opportunity, or that she didn't want to? Like, because I'm sure they would have let her go to the PC and work with people, but I think she thinks she's bigger than that.
Yes. And that's exactly how I felt. Listen, I made a TikTok about this a couple months ago before this became a thing. I just wanted to compare the two. And I mentioned how Ronda didn't come into professional wrestling wanting to be a wrestler. She came into it to further her name, to keep her name out there. She wanted to be a mom. She wants to be a mom to Travis Brown's kids, and she wants to be a mom to the child that she birthed. She has 3 children with Travis Brown, 2 from his former marriage, and then 1 that they have together. And that's amazing. And I have been the biggest Ronda Rousey fan possibly alive. But I don't rock with this because Becky's a mom. She dedicates an insane amount to her craft. Charlotte is probably the biggest name in all of professional wrestling, like in terms of the women. She dedicates an insane amount of time. Sasha Banks, even though she's probably one of the worst talkers we've ever had this side of Psycho Sid, she might, like, her in-ring performance, she's a gym rat. Like, if you're not going to be good at something, you need to be good at something else. And Ronda, unfortunately, the best promo she had was on her way out, putting over Shayna. It took that long for us to get, like, coherent, good promos. Listen, I may come from Bayonne, New Jersey, and I might not be the smartest person, like, that you've ever had a conversation with. I could be on the lower rung of that. But I know not to use big words in a conversation if I don't know what the words mean. And I know if I'm trying to get people to listen to our show, I'm not going to sit here and spit out thesaurus words. The amount of times that Ronda Rousey cut promos and just threw in a big word in there that people would have to Google later. Like, these are wrestling fans, okay? We're wrestling fans. We're like the drama side of NASCAR fans. It's not like we're geniuses. You know what I mean? Like, anything you think about a NASCAR fan, that's what a wrestling fan is. Just say, why do you think NASCAR and wrestling go so well together? Because they're the same people. You know?
I was about to pivot. I was about to pivot because there's NASCAR on my TV right now.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. Like, when you listen to her promos, and I challenge you, man, go back and watch her promos. She tried to sound smarter than she was. And she may be that smart. She may be the Sheldon Cooper of the mixed martial arts world. But no one else is.
She's not nearly as entertaining as Sheldon Cooper, but anyway. Yeah, I mean, so
I agree with you there.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm with you there. Here's the thing. If her priority is to be a mom, that's a wonderful thing. I commend her for that. But if that's your priority, don't complain when someone else who makes something else their priority gets more opportunities at that than you do. Because it is what it is, and you can't have it both ways. I don't want to be too harsh because obviously I have never been a fan of Ronda. I don't agree with a lot of the things she says.
Yep, I know.
We have some very different views, but I mean, I was excited when she came in. Her peak was the first like 3 months of her being there. Even like main eventing WrestleMania. I don't think that was a peak for her.
Yeah,
because the story was good, but then the match was just it happened, and I think a lot of it had to do with her.
Yeah,
like as you
I
said,
agree.
showing up late for practice.
100%. I agree with you.
And the way Logan took this, and I'm not a fan of Logan Paul.
Oh
as a
my
human
God!
being,
Yeah. Yep.
but like a champ. Like he's like, that's her experience, and I don't think she's mad at me. She's mad at whatever happened.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're gonna see her back in WWE anytime soon.
I mean, never say never. The Ultimate Warrior made his way back, and Triple H. These are things that don't bother him. He's not Vince McMahon. He's not petty. He's not going to do this type of stuff.
That's true. She did not take the shot at him either. She took it at other people who are quite powerful in the company, though.
Yes, I would definitely. Yes, I 1000% believe that she has nothing but respect for Paul. I think that's something
Very
that she
well.
has. Well, we don't really have an intermission set up for you, but we're going to give you one anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you this day in pro wrestling history, and then we're going to move on to AEW. So this day in pro wrestling history in 1998, Monday Nitro had 2 big-time title changes. Goldberg ends Raven's one-day reign as United States champion while also moving to 75-0. And Hollywood Hulk Hogan ends Randy Savage's one-day reign as WCW champ. The match ends with Bret Hart, where he comes out to have others interfere, including Kevin Nash and the Disciple. Hart shocked the crowd by hitting Nash in the face with the WCW title and then pulled Hogan on top of Savage. I mean, might be the shittiest thing Bret Hart's ever done. Just saying.
And we wonder why that company went under.
Yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one. Happy birthday to one half of the current or TNA World Tag Team Champions, Brian Myers. He turns 39 today. And 36 years ago today, Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard won the NWA World Tag Team Championships, defeating Lex Luger and Barry Windham. That's pretty cool. And on this day,
that's an interesting tandem.
Yeah. On this day, 25 years ago, we lost one of my childhood heroes, one of my dad's all-time favorite wrestlers. So I'm going to say this the way he did, the way he would say it. Listen up, you Motor City sweat hogs. 25 years ago today, ravishing Rick Rude passed away at the age of 40. Forever missed, one of the greatest international world champions of all time. One of the cats who gave Ultimate Warrior a legit great wrestling match. I mean, just a brilliant
one of the top heels of his era.
Top heels of his era, and one of the absolute greatest sellers ever. In terms of pay-per-view, in 1997, WWF presented In Your House, Revenge of the Taker at the War Memorial Auditorium in Rochester, New York. In the main event, we had possibly the greatest yin-yang ever. Stone Cold Steve Austin defeated Bret the Hitman Hart by disqualification after interference by Davey Boy and Owen Hart. Undertaker successfully defended the WWF Championship against the most underrated wrestler possibly of his era, Mankind. Savio Vega beat Rocky Maivia by countout in an Intercontinental Championship match, but due to countout, Rocky retained the championship. The Legion of Doom defeated the tag team champs Owen Hart and British Bulldog by disqualification. One memorable moment from the show was Sonny and Brian Pillman trying to convince fans to call the WWF hotline while groping each other. Just a ridiculous time to be a wrestling fan back in the 90s.
So it wasn't you don't think the highlight was the debut of Rockabilly?
No.
No.
I didn't even mention it. I read it, but I didn't
I remember watching that show.
Okay. So a couple of things before we jump into AEW. I wanted to share a personal story. I have made videos about Jon Moxley and what he's meant to me. And I have never wanted to give you the actual reason I love Jon Moxley. I've just wanted to try to keep it to professional wrestling, but I need this to be known. The other day, I was a part of a text group. And I stated in the text group that what a time to be alive. There are 3 Latino world champions in professional wrestling with Mike Santana, Cody Rhodes, and Damian Priest, not to mention Bayley and Roxanne Perez. And I was super happy. And there was a couple people that were like, yeah, man, that's awesome. It's about damn time. But then there was a text, and I was so annoyed by the text that I actually went into my settings and silenced the group. So I no longer am a part of, like, I didn't leave the group, but I don't want to take part in it. Because the text stated, yeah, and then there's this balding white asshole holding the Japanese championship. And I thought to myself, seriously, what the fuck did this man do to garner the hate that he has? I get it why people don't like the Young Bucks. I get why people don't like CM Punk. I understand why people are like this. I get why people have an issue with Brett. What did Jon Moxley do for wrestling fans to hate him so fucking much that somebody needed to just state that and to just have, like, you know, when you hold a message to put a little heart by it, there were people like laughing like it was a great comment. And I'm thinking, like, nobody knows this man. Nobody knows that he's done so much for the wrestling industry. So let me share a personal story to why he means so much to people like me, to people like Patty Rican. About 10 years ago, Patty was out. And he got a phone call from his mom. Their house had burned down. They lost everything. Everything that we grew up having. Everything that Pat had that he had collected, albums, wrestling autographs, clothes, gone. 3809 Park Avenue, just in flames in New Jersey. They had to live out of hotels. Like, you offer as much as you can to help, but I live in a different state. They have things going on there. They can't just up and leave. At the time, Pat was really big into the wrestling industry, indies. So somebody came up with this idea to have a show like you would do for like a fireman.
Right.
A lot of guys work this show, and I'll let Patty, the next time he comes on the show, I'll let him run down the people that work this show. But none of them work this show for free. Only one man did. And that was Jon Moxley. He was booked to go somewhere. And he heard about what happened with Pat. And without knowing him, he worked Pat's show to raise money so they can use his name. He worked it for free. So there's a lot of people on here that want to use real life situations as a way to why you like wrestlers. Well, there's a real life situation. That man did something for my family that your favorite wrestler's never done for anybody else's family. And if you love people like Cody Rhodes and John Cena for what they do with Make-A-Wish, just know there are people like Robin Williams who do good things out of the kindness of their heart and don't look for the recognition. We didn't find out about what Robin Williams did in kids' hospitals until after his passing, because it wasn't about the recognition. It was about helping people. That's the type of person Jon Moxley is. So I find it very odd that for some reason people have just decided to say he's a plumber and to mention his hardcore, and it's just like, I don't get it. He's still one of the best wrestlers walking the fucking earth. And IWGP does not just put their championship on any fucking person. And I'm sorry.
That's for sure.
I trust years of phenomenal professional wrestling, and I trust them. And if they think Jon Moxley is worthy, if not a big-time star, to be their world champion, to carry that brand all the way over to the States, I think that that's a smarter, I think it's a smarter, like, group of people than we are. Like, maybe pay attention, because I don't think John's going to go over there and work hardcore defending that championship. He's going to go over there and work guys like, Tanahashi and Shida. He's going to work all these guys. Sonata. He's going to work all these guys in their style, because this is what John loves. If you read his book, he talks about when he left, he wanted to work the G1 Classic. This is stuff he's fallen in love with.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The thing with me is I've been concerned, because like it was like he went to rehab and for drinking, and then when he came back, there was all the bleeding, and I was just worried about him, whether he wasn't okay.
Yeah. Rehab that his former company paid for.
That is one of the great things that they do.
Yeah, but he was employed somewhere when they did that, which is really shitty.
What?
He was employed somewhere. He was employed somewhere.
Right.
Like, why couldn't Tony pay for it?
Well, I don't know.
Definitely utilized it on television.
I don't know that he asked. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know the situation. So
that is true. Yeah.
But so it was just a concern for me. Like, are you okay? Because like that's a man with a child and a wife, and so now that he seems to be thriving now.
Yeah.
And as far as that company goes, there is no one more important to that company than that man.
Agreed. He's the Undertaker.
I don't know why.
Of that company.
I don't know why he wasn't the one to go out and give that rah-rah speech a few weeks ago. Because from him, like what he said the other night, that resonated a whole lot more than what and I love Edge, Adam Copeland, whatever you want to call him. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't resonate because you've only been there for 5 minutes.
Agreed. Speaking of that, why don't we jump into the footage?
Okay.
So I don't really want to talk about the footage and dissect it. I think that's kind of been done. I think I want to talk about the fact that the owner of the company said that it was used for a storyline, and then the very next week they ignore it. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on, like, what do you think's happening there? Because I'm so confused by that.
Right. So I'm of two minds. Mm-hmm. I'm of two minds here. I think as far as using it for the storyline, like if it was like, and I said this to you on the phone, I think if it's anyone else, like say it was Hangman and Jungle Boy that had the fight, I think them using that as an excuse as to why they lost because they were distracted, brilliant. But because of who it is, it just comes off as petty.
Yeah.
As far as
I
them
agree.
not using it this week, yeah, I mean, I guess they made their point and they moved on to other things because they still were cutting promos against FTR, so there's still some continuity there.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's because of who it is. It comes off as petty, especially the timing of it. I kind of wish both companies would just stop taking shots at one another and just let them
Ooh.
be themselves.
See, I don't think WWE is taking shots because they want to. I think they're just tired of being poked.
Yeah,
Like
but
Triple
you
H.
have your big. Yeah, okay, but it's the biggest WrestleMania of all time. It's your huge celebration. Why make it about somebody else?
I don't know. I love your mindset. Everything you just said there is valid. I also have a mindset as to why Triple H said this. And I couldn't come up with the right words the last time you and I had a conversation about it. But since we're talking about it, why don't we just stop there with the footage since like there's been enough time spent on that. And why don't we jump into the back and forth between the companies and specifically Will Ospreay and Triple H? Because two big time wrestlers from back in the day have both come out in defense of Triple H, which is Kevin Nash and Conan. Now, I loved what Conan said because I
See, I didn't
believe
see
that
it.
is,
I didn't see what he
I,
said.
yeah, I believe what Conan said is exactly what Triple H meant to say. He just didn't say it. What Kevin Nash said was, Will better not want to go over there because now
Yeah,
you've poked
bullshit.
fun. Like, and I'm thinking, like, come on, Triple H would use the same shit. But
The guy who
I
destroyed his
think,
throne is the world champion.
yeah, I think that Triple H is angry. I think he's bitter. I think he feels like Will's not going to get utilized properly. And I think he looks at Will as Shawn Michaels. I think he looks at him as, you know, Daniel Bryan. I think he looks at him as Seth Rollins, as like, this guy's 30. I have 10 to 15 years where I can make this guy the next Heartbreak Kid. And he chose to go to a company where they're not going to do that for him. And he should be here at WrestleMania. And I think he can't say that because it really makes the rest of the roster look kind of shitty. But I think that there's a lot of people that believe that Will Ospreay he's 30. He like fuck, man. Like John Cena was like 34 when like he started hitting that prime. That means you have 4 more years to build this man, to make him that big thing. The second half of Shawn Michaels' career is the greatest career in the history of professional wrestling, and there are no belts. What the fuck? I just think Paul is bitter. I think he's angry, and I agree with him. I really do. I don't. I mean, I said it on our show before he made the decision. I didn't want him to go to AEW. I don't. I just don't think they're gonna use him right. He's so good. He's just so good, man. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, right now he's main eventing just about every week, and in a very high profile feud. But I mean, and that's not even the reason. The reasons he went there, like, let's talk about this on a real level.
Okay.
Like, say God forbid something happened to you,
Mm-hmm.
and full disclosure, I'm your son's godfather.
Okay.
So I am looking after him. Would
Mm-hmm.
you want me to take a job where it uproots everything that he knows just so I can be a big superstar when I could take an equally higher paying actually job and he still gets to live his life near his family and near his where he's always gone to school and on this and that?
Well, this is difficult for me because if we're gonna do it on a personal level, I'd rather you'd uproot Arthur and get him out of here. Because being someone who being in the same area of losing someone is one of the hardest things to ever.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I'd rather be anywhere else. But
Okay.
now what
But
Conan
you get what I'm saying.
I understand, yes. But what Conan said was Triple H, when he talks about the grind, he's not talking about like him not having passion for the business. What he's talking about is getting on a plane and flying first class and getting to sleep for 8 hours to go have a phenomenal match. And these guys that put in the grind are written about in Jericho books, in Edge's books, in Eddie's books, in Mick's books, where they've had to drive all night to get to a spot to, like, to wrestle the next night. Like, these are guys that do that, and you're not doing that. You get to fly first class because you picked lavish lifestyle. And even though you picked something commendable, which is what you did, is phenomenal. It's great. I'm happy that you're doing the old wives' tale and you're doing it in real life. I think that's great. I mean, my dad used to tell me that story when I was a little boy. He used to tell me the fireman story. There are two firemen, best friends. One is married, has kids. The other one single as can be. They go into a burning building. The one that's married, he dies in the building. His best friend moves into the house. Him and his best friend's wife fall in love, and he helps raise the child. And then they get a letter on the child's 18th birthday that was his plan all along. If anything were to happen to him, he never expected anybody else to be with his wife and to raise his child. I've heard the tale. I've heard it. But so I get what Will's doing. And I think it's great, but he has this ability, as I stated. There is no one. We've never seen anybody like this. Never. We've never seen anybody that is just so close to being the universal GOAT. Like, we've never seen this. The one time we've come close is Kobe Bryant because he mimicked Michael. Will has the ability to be better than Sean. And hey, he may, in a year or two, may realize this and be like, I need to get the fuck out of here. And then by 32, he could go over to Triple H, and all of this can happen just 2 years later, which is fine. Maybe Cody puts him over at WrestleMania. Maybe Roman puts him over. Who knows? But I think Triple H looks at Roman Reigns, 38. Cody Rhodes, 38. Seth Rollins, 37. I think he thinks of these guys that they're closer to 40 than Will is, and Will's 30. And he has so much untapped potential. And, as Eric Bischoff says, this is where people go to die.
From a pure wrestling standpoint, yes, I would love to have seen him. I'd love to see him wrestle guys like Seth and Cody and Drew and all those guys. But another thing, that he doesn't seem like that's ever really been his goal either, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, his goal, his dream was Japan, and he's already done that.
Yeah, but that's the thing. He worked Japan, which was WWE, in a different country. And now he's working Jacksonville's NXT. Like, people can say whatever they want. I don't care. I'm sorry if this upsets you too, Tyler. AEW is just NXT. It's not Raw.
That's what its competition always should have been, and that's what it was initially.
That's exactly
supposed to be. I agree. It's not WWE. It's something different, and like it's fine if you don't like it. That's fine for whatever. Like, I don't like steak.
Agree. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Yeah, yeah, and I get that. So
I like sour gummy worms.
Exactly. I mean, I love gummy stuff. So I just came up with this. So why don't we make this the main event topic to steal from
Let's do it.
working the marks here? We're gonna adopt this method and we're gonna do a main event topic because working the marks is no longer a thing. Patty Rican is retired. Fernando, you are absolutely welcome on the show whenever you want to be here. But the main event topic, we touched on it on Work in the March this week. And I came up with something in my head while I was driving at work this week. So I thought, why not have this conversation full out and fleshed out for the audience with Tyler? I made a pretty bold statement. And I believe more than anything else in professional wrestling that I can ever say, I believe this is the most right I've ever been. There has never been an AEW show. There has never been an AEW moment that has mirrored or even come close to matching the stare down between Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson at Arthur Ashe Arena. We've never had that. We have not had that since. I've gone back to watch the beginning of Will versus Kenny, the beginning of Will versus Kenny, Young Bucks versus FTR, Young Bucks versus Adam and Kenny. I've gone back just to watch the beginning to make sure that what I'm saying is right, because I feel like maybe I didn't explain it well. There's never been a moment where wrestling fans have clamored for one match for so long because these both at one point were considered the greatest wrestlers of the era that they were already chanting "This is awesome" before they even touched each other. Like,
I agree with that.
There's never anything like this. So, in stating that, I wanted to ask you something because I know you're a big Will Ospreay fan. Here's the main event topic. Do you believe Bryan versus Will is a true dream match, or do you think Will is not accomplished enough?
That's interesting because accomplished enough where? Like,
okay. Would you
he's
consider
done everything in Japan that Kenny did.
Okay. Would you consider HBK Kurt Angle WrestleMania 21 like a dream match?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when I go back and think of why that's a dream match, I think because multiple Royal Rumble winners, multiple WWE champion, he's a World Heavyweight champion, European champion, IC champ, and on the other hand, King of the Ring winner, Undisputed champion, WWE champion, WCW champion, Intercontinental champion, European champion. But their accomplishments are insane for both. The one thing that Sean has over him is that he's a multiple Royal Rumble winner. But other than that, the accomplishments of these guys. But guess what Kurt has over him? Olympic gold medals. So they have one thing the other person does not. When I look at Bryan versus Will, I think of WWE champion, World Heavyweight champion, 3-time WrestleMania main eventer, 4-time WrestleMania World Heavyweight Championship competitor, Ring of Honor World Champion, Ring of Honor Pure Champion, King of the Indies. He legit won that tournament, by the way.
But that's not a thing anymore, so Will can't win it.
Yes, exactly. And then when I look at Will, I think of like junior Cup
Cup that's Super Juniors.
That, when I think of all the Japanese accolades, he's
got them all.
But here in the States, he has nothing. And I just wonder, I'm like, this is a great match, but is it not the most talked about match because people don't really think it's a dream match?
See, to me, that's why it is a dream match, because here's the guy that did everything in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
He's done it all. He's 30 years old and he has done everything there is to do.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the guy who's done everything there is to do in North America, aside from an AEW championship, which I don't think he cares about.
No, but the title that John has, I think he would be happy with that title.
Indeed, I believe he would like to have that, but then again, that's Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's what makes it a dream match to me, because they're like Bryan is the Ospreay of America and Ospreay is the Bryan of Japan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree. I tend to more think of it on your side. I do think it's a dream match. I look at it more so Shawn versus Jericho, WrestleMania 19.
Sure, okay, that's fine.
But
That was a great match.
uh, I don't know because I just don't think Jericho was ever on Shawn's level. I think Shawn was
Nobody was.
no
Brett,
the way. Okay, so
Brett, maybe.
yeah, that's what I would say. I would say Brett versus Shawn. That's what I'm looking at when I see this match. This is Brett versus Shawn.
God, I hope it's more entertaining than that.
Brett versus Shawn have had a handful of matches, and the only one that sticks out to you is the Iron Man match.
No, I just had to say it. No, I love the. I actually love the Montreal match before what goes down.
Mhm.
But
Actually, Brett
man,
just made some. He just made some interesting. He just made an observation about his early time with the Rockers. He felt like the one of the saddest things in pro wrestling is that the Rockers were never WWF tag team champions.
I mean,
The guy he just continues to surprise people. You think he hates somebody, and then he just talks like he puts the business over everything.
I think he and Sean are good.
Yeah, I think so too.
But
I think it's really hard to hate someone who's just done so much for professional wrestling. Like Sean has really done a lot recently.
right, and
You know.
I also think 2024 Shawn Michaels seems like a hard guy to dislike in general.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. But yeah. So I mean, that was our main event topic of the evening, guys. What I would like to do is I would like to review Dynasty with Tyler. I think that to me, Brian versus Will might be the biggest match in my adult life.
Wow.
I can't think of a match more important. I mean, I got to see Brian versus Roman. I got to see that. I got to see, to this day, I still say it. I don't care who argues. I'll tell Roman Reigns to his face. I'll tell you right now. This man's perfect wrestler to go one-on-one with is Bryan Danielson. They've had his best matches of his career. Go back and watch all of the one-on-one matches. They're the best matches of this man's career. I will stand by that.
Makes sense.
Unfortunately, they're not Bryan's. Sorry. Like I want to say that, but Bryan's got some killer matches with Dolph Ziggler, killer matches with CM Punk, Homicide. It just. I mean, as much as I'm not a big fan, that Iron Man match is amazing.
Yeah, it is really good.
So yeah. So I definitely want to review Dynasty. Hopefully we will jump back on track and be able to do this once a week again for you. So Tyler, is there anything you want to push before we get out of here?
I'm with you. I like to review Dynasty too. There's two of the matches that I've probably been most excited about really in wrestling. And we just had Mania, but like Swerve versus Joe, the build is great.
Yeah.
They're both amazing performers. Brian versus Will, I love it.
Okada Pac.
Okada Pac. Holy shit.
Yeah. And for those of us that grew up in the Jersey area, for those of us like I know Tyler's a fan, you're unique because you happen to follow this, but Roderick Strong versus Kyle O'Reilly is something like this is old school Ring of Honor. This is old school like Jersey indie, like Listen, there's a lot of good matchups, but if we come out of Dynasty saying that Roddy and Kyle O'Reilly had the match of the night, I would not be fucking shocked.
No, me either. I mean, I love me some Kyle O'Reilly, and Roddy is doing some of the best work of his career.
Yeah. And listen to me here. I'm going to look right at the camera here. Listen to me, fucking Snowman, fucking Tony Khan. You listen here. If Bryan Danielson retires before you give us that second Kenny Omega match, I'm driving to fucking Jacksonville and slapping you in the face.
Well,
and if Bryan
Kenny would have to
Danielson
get cleared.
Yeah, if Bryan Danielson retires before I get a one-on-one pay-per-view match with Kyle O'Reilly, I'm going to fuck you up.
That's interesting.
Because we need that match. That is a match that just
That'll
like
be a good one.
wrestling lovers, hardcores want. I need Kyle O'Reilly versus Bryan Danielson. All right? Give me that fucking match. Just give it to me. And what are you doing with Orange Cassidy? He shouldn't be in a fucking tag team. What are you doing?
He's not in a tag team. He's sad. He's sad by himself.
Stupid. Just stupid. Hottest fucking attraction in your whole company. One of the matches I'm most excited about is Thunder Rosa and Antonia.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Antonia.
You should call her
Antonia. Yeah, that's what she calls her. She goes,
Antonia.
Antonia. Listen, before we go, we got to talk about it. Tyler, I just have to know your opinion, and then we can sign off here. Toni Storm jumps Thunder Rosa, rubs her makeup with her with a thing off, almost like I'm taking your power. This makeup is what makes you. And Thunder Rosa's reaction is to go out and cut a promo the following week, and during the promo, rub her makeup off in the same fashion with her hand and says, "You can't kill what's already dead. And I'm going to drag you down to hell." What? Dude, I just got chills saying that. What the fuck? They are the best thing going in AEW right now. I don't care. They're the best thing going. I love it.
See, so we've had this conversation for the last 5 minutes, and it's like, for all the terrible, ridiculous, stupid shit that's going on in that company, there's a lot of really good stuff.
There is. Absolutely there is. Yeah. I agree.
There's about 10 to 15 people in that company that are killing it.
They're the 1998 Seattle Mariners. That's how I look at them. They're a 114 win team. They just will never win the championship.
Okay.
That's
about right.
I mean, Alex Rodriguez, Randy Johnson, Ken Griffey Jr. Whoa. But anyway,
Tino, Edgar Martinez.
Edgar Martinez, yes. Not Tino. Tino was winning World Series.
Tino was there at one point, wasn't he?
Yeah, he may have been.
I believe he started there.
Yeah. It's too bad they let him go. Anyway. 3 guys from the Mariners wound up in New York. Ichiro, Alex, and Tino. That's funny. Oh, and Randy too.
Cano.
He didn't start there. Cano's a process.
He started with it. Who's the Mariners? No, he went the other way. Yeah. I knew he was on both. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in.
You know what? Before we go, that's what I wanted to say to both you and Tony Khan's landlord. AEW is the Mets. They got a bunch of good players.
Yeah.
They just do some stupid shit and it falls apart.
Ugh, yeah, that's the worst. Yeah, Uribe, that's for you, pendejo.
That's why you hate him.
Fuck the Mets, yeah.
Well, who do you think I was talking about when I said Tony Khan's landlord?
Oh, no, that's why I said Uribe. Good, yeah, that's for him.
I'm not letting that go.
Yeah, that's going to be hilarious. I can't wait to get him back on there. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening, and we are out.
Out.